What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the World Wide Web of Lending. I got a podcast episode for the ages today with my man Kevin Ewing. Welcome back to Connect to the Web, my podcast, trying to build something cool for the local business owners in Maryland. We'll eventually get to the DMV, but for right now, we're doing Harford County, Cecil, Baltimore, and the area. So welcome back. Hope you have a couple minutes to spare because you're going to really get a lot today. I've got a local superstar sitting in front of me. He doesn't think that, but every time I get 4 or 5 days into my career, Kevin's name comes up somehow. So if you don't know him, now you're going to know. So welcome, Kevin, to my humble abode. So we're going to spend a lot of time, like I always do, on your business and telling the community about what you do. But I'm a firm believer that people buy from people. And I think your story's fantastic. You as a person are cool, but they'll get that.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that first. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Kevin, where you grew up, and then don't connect to the business side yet. Just tell me kind of, who you are and how you met your lovely lady who we already had on here.
All right. So I'm Harford County born and raised. Lived in Aberdeen, lived in Abingdon. I've always been an athlete. So like my dad, he was like a big running back, like early '80s.
Okay.
Like, he went to Edgewood High. So people will still like run into me like because they recognize the name. I'm a junior. And so they're like, "Oh, you're not. I remember your dad." So I was like, just
so he's legit. Like he's known in the area in that community.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man.
I mean, the way people come up to me, like he had some kind of impact.
Is your dad still with us?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you ever with him and like someone's like, "Oh, that's the guy"?
I mean, there's a lot of times when they will see the name pop up. Like I've been searched on Facebook, and they're like,
because of
I
that.
thought you were your dad, but I see you doing your thing too. Yeah. So,
that's cool.
So I just grew up watching like these running backs growing up. I played football early. The hot summers, the screaming coaches.
2 days, or 3 days back then. They don't do the 3 days
I think
anymore.
That kind of turned me into a hooper.
Okay.
Turned me into a basketball player. So
ushered you into that. All those suicides inside are crazy.
Yeah, the suicides I didn't mind as much as like and I like growing up early '90s. We had like the cigarette smoke blowing in our face.
I'm like, I forgot about that. That used to be okay indoors,
right?
Yeah.
Like just getting yoked up by
now you're taking me back.
Yeah, I mean, and so I will even like tell my kids about it, and they're like, that's how it was. I'm like, I mean,
that foot at the top where you could see it accumulating.
Yes, yeah. So, just being an athlete, my mom was always like big on education, so I, had to make sure I was on point in the classroom. And so, one thing that we are teaching like the kids, it's not necessarily about the grade; it's more about the work ethic and getting the grade. Because I mean, I think now kids are just really smart, and they figure out, oh, if I can work my way into the grade as opposed to like working towards the grade, like I still got the goal accomplished. And so I tried to figure out like, all right, man, my mom is gonna make me do book reports over the summer. She's gonna make me do these maps in geography.
Wow, good for her.
So I mean, like just I had to be well rounded growing up. Like it was about just being able to look good in whatever room that I was in. So you brought up my wife. We met at Edgewood Middle School. We both went different ways when it came to high school. I went to Tech. She went to John Carroll.
I forgot you went to Tech. That's cool.
I mean, you see the shoes. I
can't see him, but they're Tech. He's all Tech colors right now.
I was with the Cobras, and my mom made me go there. And I just had to figure out making whatever situation that I was in, work for me. And so
max it out.
Yeah, so it was just kind of like, all right, like they're not really known for sports. I may have to turn that into something. You don't even really hear. I mean, when I started there in 2000, so you didn't really hear much about Tech. It was like, what fun is it going to be? And I ended up, being in student government, Spanish club. I was prom king, like. I was team captain of the basketball team, so it was like a lot of different things.
You had your fingers in a lot of different things.
Yeah, I just was like,
good for you to be well-rounded.
Right. It was like I'm going to turn the situation into something that I, want it to be, as opposed to like hearing about it and just, I guess, conforming to what it was. And so after all that stuff, I'm like trying to just find what I'm gonna do. Like I didn't necessarily feel like I was prepared the greatest for college. Um,
It's not for everybody.
And that's the like. I mean, I could go multiple different ways into that. Where
Whole other episode.
It could be. Well, it's funny now because I'm actually teaching. I'm teaching a class at Harford.
I was going to bring that up.
But I just spoke at a high school last week
Yeah.
on creative alternatives, as opposed to the traditional college and military things like that. But you go to Harvard Tech or your technical school for a trade, and that's what I went for. But then my mom still wanted me to go to college, and after high school, I was like trying to figure out what I was doing. Went into network marketing, and I'm like trying to recruit. I'm trying to, build my downline and things like that.
That'll drop your walls quick. If you want to be successful at that, you have to learn how to be uncomfortable.
Well, a lot of people talk down on network marketing.
Yeah.
But there's so many different things that you will learn about business, communication, relationships, and yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And through all that, through trying to recruit, reconnected with my wife. And, we hadn't seen each other in years. And it just kind of turned into like, you're ambitious. You're trying to do something. And, I always wanted a woman that had some stuff that I didn't have. Like,
complimentary.
Yeah. And so you have like your eye on a certain type of lady a lot of times. And some advice that I gotten in network marketing was a lot of us like to find someone to be around that have like a common past, like we can already relate.
Relatability.
But trying to find someone with a common future is like much more important if you're trying to build with that person. And that was the one thing.
Oh, that's profound. Yeah, that's deep, man. That's deep.
And that was one of the things that really stood out for like me and her, where I'm like having these conversations and I'm like, oh, like I can really see like where our paths are aligning, because we know where we come from, and now we know where we're both trying to go. Yeah.
So full disclosure, just because of the way the schedules worked, his wife was recorded on my podcast in an earlier episode. And what's neat, having you just said that, is the female and male perspectives of how those stars aligned. Because you have a different perspective. It's not different. It's hers, right?
Yeah.
But it's so cool to hear your version of that as a man,
right?
Where like you're like, I'm thinking about this, and kind of this might be my ideal gal, and then all of a sudden you see somebody else, and you're like, well, I don't need that, because this is really attractive. Like the parts of her that were attractive were things you didn't realize would be like that future.
Well, I mean,
so cool.
We're being like 21, 22, 23 years old. I was
going to ask you an age. Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Well, and I was just being like, the point I'm going into, like just being, generally speaking, we're looking at body, we're looking at face, we're looking at hair. Like I know the type of things that I'm looking for, but I knew what I lacked. I didn't have financial education. I didn't have any kind of like credit. Like I'm trying to, like, as we're talking, I'm like, oh, you're like different. Like that's what I'm getting. Like those are the things that I like really started to care about, where it's like, oh, like I have things that you might lack, and you have things that I need. And so it was just kind of like, all right, like I think I might need to pursue this, because this is not just physical attraction. It's not about the aesthetic.
That's an important part.
How we can grow.
But that long term, there's got to be something else. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big old sap, huge fan of like, that the relationship should have two sides to it, right? Yeah. It's not servitude from one spouse or the other. It's a companionship. So, and I'm a nerd about that. We could spend a whole nother, somebody said TED Talk, but it would be a Webb Talk if we did that. But that's awesome. Like, I think that's so important.
What I'll say is, like, where you're bringing up like two sides of the relationship, we became good friends instantly because she had video games.
Done.
I want to
sold.
So yeah, and it was like the first night we hung out. Man. She has an Xbox 360. She has a Wii. She has a PS3, and I'm like, okay.
She left that out of our entire hour and a half interview, by the way.
Yeah, and it's like,
Megan, you didn't tell me you gamed?
There's things like, Oh, I mean, she still plays. Like, she still play. Like, my 11-year-old, he got on and was like, "Hey, like, if we need a third for trios, my mom will jump on the Switch." And his friend was like, "Your mom will what?"
Right. He's like,
My mom
excuse me?
doesn't even know how to turn on a game. Yeah, like they will play like for hours. It might be
Oh,
Mario Party,
man.
Mario Kart, Fortnite.
Mm.
She like we were playing like Modern Warfare, and I'm no good at any of like the shoot 'em up games. I'm more of like the Tekken, Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
Madden, stuff like that. So when we were playing, it was like I don't mind letting her win. She's having a good time, and
Oh, you said let her win. Okay. Okay. Listen,
yeah,
that's recorded now. You got to come back on that when you guys are talking.
We'll probably have to come in together and have a debate. But yeah, I mean that also helped build where it was like, oh, this isn't just let's go out for a drink, and
Yeah.
it was like, all right, we can have fun at the crib and hang out
Yeah.
like that too. So
Look, all joking aside, because my wife and I do not share our affinity for the gaming community, but I told her early on that like there's a lot of destructive habits individually into a relationship that exist.
right.
Not that you need a pat on the back, not to be destructive, but they're everywhere, right?
Mhm.
Even the bar scene, like at some point it'll get old, and then you got to go to a different kind of bar. And I mean, we're actually in a bar, so I understand the irony there. But
Yeah.
to have a productive and healthy way to release stress, enjoy, and then now relate to each other.
Right.
You didn't know it at the time, but then your children, that's just so cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All three of the kids seem to be gamers, whether it's Roblox, whether it's GTA, whether it's Fortnite. So it's fun to just see them have similar passions.
Yeah.
At least to me, like I know video games like isn't her passion. It is something she can do in her
enjoy
pastime. But
and then get up and walk away.
Right, exactly. Me, it's a little more tough. Like I had to like wean myself off of like, hey, the game's getting in the way.
You ever throw a controller?
It's been a long time since I've thrown a controller. Definitely, I mean, I've came to tears, like just the Mike Tyson punch out, the just we can go back, yeah, the Tecmo Bowl and stuff like that. Yeah. So
Man, I learned stress management through my Nintendo.
yeah, what you playing? Contra? You playing
I
Double
like the
Dragon?
Contra, especially back then. You learned that cheat code. Like I
Right.
thought I was cool, even though every American knew the same one. But I really enjoyed that, and yeah, I think my gaming experience evolved. I got into the role playing side
Okay.
because a lot of stressors in my life when I was growing up, some family stuff. But this is your gig, not mine. But I needed a way to just check out.
Yeah.
I needed to just click, and I wasn't getting that in the shoot game, the first person shooters. Love playing them, but
Right.
when I only had that moment where I knew I had an hour, maybe two, I had to go away
Yeah.
mentally, and I couldn't get that in those other games. So I gravitated towards role playing games where you can sit down and spend an hour and not even do anything in the game. I found that very attractive.
Oh, like where you're just exploring.
Just
like,
exploring.
Yeah.
Open world was different in the 90s than it is now,
Definitely.
but it evolved.
Right.
But it was a big part of my stress management. It still is today.
Yeah.
I lace it in. It's the same thing as reading. It's no different. I don't read, non-fictional things about like the wars and U.S. history. I read things where you just like fantasy, just check out.
Oh,
Because I'm just trying to be somewhere else.
Okay.
Chapters.
I was going to say, that is a completely different conversation too.
It is.
Because
It is.
when I will, like, I don't talk to a ton of people that are like the fictional readers, but I can't necessarily get there. Like, I have to be reading something, I feel like, to learn.
Mhm.
Like, otherwise I'm like, what is it? Like, I'll ask those questions, like, what are you getting from something that is more fictional than something that you would, like, really be able to use as fact. So, no.
And not to nerd out about it, but, you have 3 kids, right?
Mhm.
So each of them has different personality.
Right.
And inside of the gaming world, there is a genre that will most likely gravitate towards them. And the cool thing about that, just like reading a book, is that you can find different genres, right?
Okay.
Your kids might like 3 different kinds of books.
Yeah.
You and your wife might have 2 different kinds of book interests.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in the gaming world. And I mean, I'm nerding about that, right? Because it's a whole thing for me. And my children all game. My daughter's 7. She hasn't gotten into it yet. She got a TV for Christmas from Santa Claus. So we'll see about that now. But I just think it's a way for them to explore what they like.
Okay.
And I know how to transition that into the real world. Like if you figure out what they like and you can kind of get them out of the gaming community into something else. So anyway, but yeah, that's cool, man. I can't imagine having a wife that gets involved in that, even at a surface level with the kids. We do joke around with the emulators sometimes. She'll pull up Dr. Mario.
Oh man,
My wife loves Dr. Mario.
Now you tapping into some tough territory because.
But again, she's like, I don't want it to be too real. Like she'll see my kids play Madden, and she's like, I feel like I'm watching Sunday Night Football.
Yeah,
that's not. I don't want to see that.
Right.
Like she likes the old cutesy cartoony anime kind of thing.
No, Dr. Mario. Like we probably played in the past month. Like no, we played that like very competitive.
We should hang out and have like a competition on Dr. Mario.
Yeah.
Could you get the screen side?
Yeah.
All right, good. We're gonna plan that. Cool. All right, so you're finding these things in this woman that you didn't necessarily would have written down when you were younger,
right?
But you're finding these things very attractive.
So I had my son when I'm saying I had my son.
I know what you meant.
Because he is from a previous relationship, and he has been with me full time since he was about 2.5, 3 years old. And so when you deal with a relationship that doesn't go great, hopefully you will learn that you'll see what you don't want.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, I automatically realize she's a special person to have the patience to deal with me and my son. And so there are times when it like literally feels like she's raised both of us, and someone just having the love, yeah. For someone to like have the love, the care, the patience, to not only deal with a 23-year-old kid, but a 3-year-old kid, and have our best interests. Like that was like really major. Where it's like, man, like the support that she's showing is sometimes even stronger than someone that has my last name. Like, and so that just, it built that loyalty, from me to her, where it's like, I gotta like really step my game up to try to make this relationship feel even. Yeah.
And she mentioned too that she could kind of see now looking back that whatever journeys you guys went on kind of seemed to be meant to be, because both of you may not have been in a spot where you could be prepared for this beautiful opportunity that was put in front of you. Exactly. And she kind of hinted that too. So I mean, that's I've got full respect for that in a world where they joke about 50% of relationships not making it. Yeah. I just love to hear about the ones that do, man. So that's hats off to you. It's not easy either, right?
I was gonna say it's a fight to keep it alive,
but you keep fighting.
Yeah.
You don't walk away.
And it's not like I don't feel like we got to the point where it's like we got to stay together for the kids. Like like we like each other. We want to see each other happy. Yeah. Because there is a difference. There's definitely a difference.
You gotta like her too.
Exactly. Like, of course, you love the person that you've been with. Like their tendencies and habits and things like that. You want to see them happy, but when you like them, you still want to spend time with them. Yeah. You don't mind going on a date with them. You're thinking of different things. Just to do in your spare time with them, and so it doesn't feel like a chore to hang with them. It's actually enjoyable.
So for the audience, the reason that this is for every guest important to learn about their family and themselves, but it's special with Kevin and Megan, is you guys are intertwined in each other's entrepreneurial journey, and Megan's always there to support you as the biggest fan. She's also there as a business partner to help push you, and there are millions of Americans that have a 2-working family that cannot work together. Oh, I know. Like my wife and I have talked about it. She's a small business owner. I am too. I have the mortgage thing. But like she's joked with me, but I know she's kind of serious where I could never work for you, right? And not that she works for you, but even she meant with me. And it's because there's something special about separating church and state for us. That's like our thing. But not a lot of couples could do that, And I mean, that's we saw in COVID where people were all of a sudden hanging out with each other and they're like, I don't like you. Right. Yeah. And that's what happened. So when you said I'm like, they like each other. Right. And your business models are stronger, not that they would fail, but they're stronger because you have that spousal support that some entrepreneurs either don't have a spouse or their spouse is not supportive of that dream. And I think part of your strength that I've witnessed is that she's got your back. And that's such a cliche thing to say, but businesses fail every day. And yours is doing great. So I think that's a huge part of your journey, and I'm sure you'd agree. Yeah. But I think that's special about you guys too, that makes you different.
Yeah, so where it says Kevin Ewing Photography, I feel like I work for her. Because it's hard. I mean, to me, I found it hard to be my own boss.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that I stress to my 18-year-old now, where it's like, from pre-K to 12th grade,
Mm.
you've had to tell yourself what to do. You may go and get a job. They're going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But if you are going to have your own job, you are creating your own lane, you have to tell yourself when to go to bed. You have to tell yourself when to wake up.
Discipline.
You have to tell yourself, what kind of, contracts and invoice, your calendar, like, she's helped me so much with that. Just staying on point. It's like, want to if I didn't want to be successful, I would just go and do my thing and not listen to whatever like she's telling me to do. So it's there are times where it's tough, where she's like, I don't want to have to parent you, through the business.
That's the mom in her coming out. She moms you.
But it's also like, she knows
Yeah.
she's much more on point than I am when it comes to that stuff. And I'm growing. I'm under construction. I'm still a work in progress.
But I mean, sports agents exist because there's a business side to their athleticism.
Right.
Musical artists have managers.
Yes.
I mean, that relationship is very special.
Right.
Your manager happens to be who you lay down to at night, right? Like, that's
that's a great analogy. That's a great way to put it, because I hate to say, like, I'm the talent, because she is definitely a star.
Just one part, though.
Yeah, she's definitely a star in her role. But I'm the person that's seen. Like, I'm the one that
face.
Holds the camera. I'm the one that they typically hear from, like, in person. So for her to be in the background a little bit, it's I feel like now is her time to shine. So now I'm actually using the camera to, like, document her journey, like, going into the different projects. So it's been nice to kind of flip the switch a little bit to where I like being in the background, following her, seeing her interactions and things like that too.
So, two things. So as you're saying that, I'm recalling what I talked to her about, where you guys have kind of supported each other in these different opportunities as they presented themselves in your story. But then I'm smiling. The camera will see it. I got this vision of her watching our episode and just kind of smiling, like, that's my guy. That's just super cool. I like that, man. That's neat. I'll never pass up an opportunity to talk about, how much you love somebody, and that's super cool. You're able to share that. Not everybody's comfortable sharing that, man. So I appreciate you. Okay, so I'm excited to kind of transition into your business, because this is where I think you're a superstar. And you mentioned that in jest, that you being the talent. I know she would say that. I know she would back you up and say, yeah, he's got something special. So our introduction came when I attended a free AI event that a title company was partnering with you with. You provided the space. And I walked in, I'm like, oh my gosh, I drive by this all the time. It's been here. So we've got two things we got to talk about. Obviously, the studio, which is super awesome. And I think that's a hidden gem. And then you have your photography business. So I think the funny thing is, every kid's sport has that photography day. As a parent, I can tell you that it is a stressful event, regardless of the age. Clearly, the younger kids, it's more of herding cats. But and as a photographer, that is part of your job sometimes. But I cannot imagine that any parent looks forward to photography day for their sport. But I got to give you props. Like, I'm totally tooting your horn, and because we're sitting here, I'm biased. But I've had 16, 18 experiences, multiple kids, multiple years. And when you helped out for the Bel Air Terps, there was a moment where it could have got crazy, and you and your staff really held it down. And just the patience that you had with, like, because moms and dads, different dynamic. You got coaching dads are trying to get them back on the field. You got moms that are like, come here, baby, let me make sure your hair is good, right? And then you got the kids that are like, what is happening? It was hot out. Of course it was sweating. And then 2 days later, it was a storm. You're trying to get the wrap-up pictures. But, that was really cool to see that side of you, having met you at the studio. And I kind of saw both worlds. I'm like, man, this guy is a superstar. So what do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about the studio or the photography business? What would you prefer?
We can talk about the photography first.
Okay.
That was my baby. That was my first baby.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the
you've got a really cool story. So get me to the point where you are in your journey, your career, and then give me a couple steps before photography, and then bring me to that point.
All right.
But let the audience hear where it came from.
I will say about 2015 2014, I'm about 28, and I'm
Okay.
like thinking my life is over. Like I told you, we did the network marketing and everything.
Yeah.
We're like, we tried it. It's just not panning out the way we want to. I'm in a warehouse job. Hate it. Every warehouse job that I've ever had, I've just felt like um, I'm just more talented than the people that are telling me what to do. I
Yeah.
feel like I just got some intelligence. I'm proactive. There's like different qualities about me that I'm like, I just don't fit in here. I don't belong here. But I have no clue like what I'm supposed to do.
But it's not here.
Yeah. And I have this passion for music. Like I was writing music back in like 2017, 2007, 2008. I have a friend, he's a hip hop dance choreographer. I have a friend, he's an artist. He can paint, he can draw anything. Another brother, he makes beats. And I had a guy that he rapped, and I was just like, look, I want my brother's beats sold, so I'll write the music or whatever. Like I just want to get like I want to be compensated to be myself. Like that's like still like my end goal.
That's
I
a
want to be
powerful line, Kevin.
man. I
want
do
to be
that.
compensated to be myself.
Compensated
Ooh.
to be creative.
Ooh, that's a
yeah,
moment.
yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
do
Keep
stuff
going.
like that. So I'm.
Ooh, I gotta shake that one off. Sorry. That was
so like I'm like I'll get this camera and we'll document it. Whoever gets their foot in the door, we'll just follow them in. We'll just move as a unit,
Yeah, a
move
little
as a
team.
group. Yep.
Unit. You said
And so
unit. Yeah.
as we are starting to do this thing, I'm realizing, oh, there's different ideas of what hard work is. There's different ideas of what goals are. Um, I also realized that it's not just hit record. There's lighting, there's settings, there's different things that you need to learn. It's angles, there's editing, things like that. And so as the group kind of falls apart, I still have this equipment that I paid for. And my wife is like,
And the knowledge.
I mean, I don't even have the knowledge yet.
But you, so you're saying like,
so I have,
you're like,
all I have is.
oh, it happened that fast.
I mean,
Okay.
I have the equipment and I've taken pictures, but they're not good. I've recorded videos, they're not good. And so the only other person that I ever really seen with a camera was somebody that I graduated with. And he went off to like Lancaster Bible College. He walked around with this MacBook. He had a camera, and I'm like, hey, like I gotta figure out what to do with this camera.
Can we talk?
So he just had patience with me. He was like, man, come over to the house. We were up in his bedroom. We're taking pictures of like random stuff. It's like Sprite bottles. He's taking pictures of me and my son. Then he's like, look, I got a maternity shoot this weekend. I got a motorcycle shoot this weekend. I got a wedding next weekend. Whenever you're off work,
those are three different things.
Yeah, just shadow me. And so that's kind of how I learned the photography. Because it was like whatever he was doing, he allowed me to just be there. He would be like, hey, move the light here. Like I would be assisting, doing different things. And so we're at a birthday party and he's like, look, I'm going to send people downstairs. I'll be upstairs taking pictures. When I send them downstairs, they're just going to do 30 seconds of like well wishes for the guests. Like
video.
Yes. And so I'm holding the camera and I'm just like, all right, go ahead and say what you got to say. At the end of the night, he gives me $120 for 3 hours. And I'm like, okay, I've never made $40 an hour.
In cash.
Yeah. What did he get paid? I'm like,
if he broke you off a piece of that cake.
Yeah. What did he get? And so it's like, oh, okay, so there might be some money in this. So that's
so you were naive to that.
Yeah,
because you hadn't seen that side of it.
Right. I didn't know like what you could do camera wise. Like I mean, that was like the network marketing was entrepreneurship, but it was nothing like taking something and like creating it from nothing. So that's when I was like, all right, I'm gonna start showing up at these like family events, taking pictures, and I was like the weird guy, like, yo, you never have a camera, like, what are you doing here? Like, what are you doing with the camera? And it's like, I'm just trying to get better.
Yeah,
I'm trying to improve. So stand still, like, let me take this picture. And so as I got better, then I could post it on Facebook.
Yeah,
hey, like $50 shoots this weekend.
Yeah,
something like that. Just trying to get the word out, and I just knew if I did a good job, somebody would share it. They would ask, how it was going. So about 2016, I started taking like my first paid gigs, and there was a look that I was trying to find. Like I would see stuff that I thought looked good. I would be in these
like
Facebook
you had an eye
groups.
for it?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it was like, all right, I seen my mentor do a birthday party. I seen him do a wedding. I've seen him do portrait sessions.
Yeah.
I've seen him do sports. And I was just trying to get my bills paid. So I was like, man, whatever somebody's asking me to do, I'll figure it out. I'll try to I'll make it work.
Yeah.
And so I never really had like my niche that what I wanted to do. It
Yeah.
was just trying to get the bills paid. So that just turned into wedding photography. So I would do the engagement session. And those are the ones that like I really love because it's just
super
two
intimate.
people.
Yeah.
They're into each other.
Them.
I'm bringing a speaker out. You might be dancing in the woods. I'm taking pictures of you guys. And I just started to
very positive.
Right. I started
vibe.
to like feel out how to get the best images like from a couple, like being into each other.
Like pulling out the moment.
Yes. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it just became nice where I was like, all right, I might do the engagement, I might do the wedding, and now she's pregnant. I'm doing the maternity, then I'm doing the 1 year, and then it grows into a family session, mini session. So it's been nice to like have the recurring customers, things like that. And then fast forward all the way now, where I have a photo booth that complements like any like wedding package that I'm doing or any
makes
like,
sense.
Yeah, like graduation
add-on
parties.
kind of thing.
Yeah. And so I there is a pressure to wedding photography a little bit where it's like you can't miss the kids. Like there's just certain things you like just can't recreate. To where I was like, you know, I'm interested in finding something else. So you brought up the sports photography. And we talked sports a little bit early. Like I've always had a passion for sports.
As an athlete.
Yes. And so I wanted these kids to have something to brag on, just like they would their trophy. And so, you know, you said it. The kids hate it. The coaches hate it. The parents hate it. And it looks like the photographer hates it too. But I don't hate the photography days. Like, for me, I've noticed life just beats us down and we like lose our confidence.
Amen.
So I've done headshot sessions for adults and they like tuck their chin, they hide from the camera. Like
even in that moment. Like that's their moment.
As soon as they see the camera come out, their whole demeanor changes. They shrink.
The physiology
just
like, alters.
Stand with some posture. Have some confidence. Like believe in yourself. Like this is for you. This is supposed to be the best picture that you've ever taken. This is like your first line of offense. Like you want to be seen, stand tall. But it doesn't just start with an adult.
Yeah.
I'm noticing that 7-year-old, the mom is like, why did you smile like that? Why are you looking like that? Why don't you pose like this? And it's like, you just told me your kid hasn't smiled in a picture for like in like 2 years. And I'm realizing why.
I can see it.
Yeah, like let me bring him over. He's gonna hold the ball where he wants. Exactly. And by the time I've taken 3 pictures that the kid wants, now the parent is getting the shot that they want and everyone's happy.
Yeah.
And so I know the coach just wants to win. That's dope. I know the mom wants the big smiling picture. I know the kid just wants it over with. But I feel like I have the win-win-win formula to where, you know, it used to be you had to pay right on the spot before you even see the picture.
Yeah.
Now we set it up where, hey, we got a QR code for you. Take the QR code.
That was super cool. Takes that whole element out of the timing.
And that brings back up the star that Megan is because she figured out this system that allows me to shoot.
Oh, man.
Parents get to view their own gallery. They don't have to scroll through a bunch of pictures of other kids that, you know, that aren't theirs.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like you get to see your kid and like you get your pictures like pretty darn quick. I mean, I've heard reviews.
It was a week, wasn't it?
I mean,
maybe 2 because there's so many, but it wasn't a long time.
I mean, and like your league was probably the biggest league that we had taken on. So that also was like the challenge. And like, all right, you guys have 19 teams.
Yeah, one age group had 5.
Yeah,
so
19 teams. There's like 400 kids. We're breaking it down with it over like 4 different nights and things like that. We also did Havre de Grace. We also did an Under Armour league, and I did a private school. So over the span of like September, October, we did about 1,100 kids.
That sounds like a lot.
Oh no, it was the most that we had ever done.
You had to have a system, or that would just get crazy.
I mean, and so that's been like the biggest thing for business is like the system aspect,
infrastructure.
Like, and so Megan is major in that lane of
hey,
you're not just going to say you want to scale and not have some things in place. And so once we got like the system down, we were like, oh, we can take on this. We're capable of this. Is possible. This is possible. This is possible. So yeah, man, I appreciate all the compliments. But it is a passion of mine for the parents to get what they want, the kids to get what they want, the coaches, you know.
And I don't want to make light of this fact, because any parent watching this, even if they're a business owner because they're in the community I'm creating, has gone through that. And the hard part about the whole thing, whatever the cost is, because it's pretty normalized, whatever the experience is, positive or negative, is that picture is usually very vanilla, and you're putting it in a box somewhere, so 20 years later you can give it back to that kid, right? It's just a regular picture. There's nothing fancy about it until we got yours. And I've got to really stop for a second and say, the photograph I got of my 14-year-old, and I got some 9-year-old pictures too, where it was amazing. That photograph, I will keep that forever, man. And it was not the same. Like, we did the whole like back-to-back, like muscles out thing. But my 14-year-old was like, Dad, that picture's fire. It was a random thing, but I can tell you that I've never even heard of someone else going, man, I got some really good pictures from that photo shoot with the Terps, right?
I appreciate that.
And I went through Forest Hill, and it's not the organization's fault. Mm-hmm. It's the photographers are like, next. And in that moment, you were like, hey, man, let's have some fun, right? And I have other coaches that had the same thing with their kids. I was a coach. I was there. We got a coach-kid picture. But holy guacamole, that was different. And it was like, wow. And I knew you, too. And I'm like, well, this is legit. This is a cool dude, a great guy, but this is a fantastic photograph. So when you pair those two together, and you get all the credit in the world, and I want everybody listening to know, it's just not the same. I didn't know. The naivety of thinking next. I mean, I got a box upstairs right now with 4 kids and 4 sports, 5 a year times 10 years. Mm-hmm. I've got stacks of those photos. But that photo you did for me, man, is in my bedroom on the side of my bed. I get up every day and look at it. I can almost cry. It's gorgeous. So, I don't want to make light of that. But I want to go back to something you said, man, before I get all sappy on your butt. I almost cried right there because it was that big of a deal, man. I got a picture of this badass of my kid.
All right, so you're going to remember your point that you want to go to?
I'm not going to forget,
So, that I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. That's a big deal. Like, I want to hear those kind of reviews. Like, because, like I said, I'm a parent just like you are. We're dealing with that. So we're trying to figure out how can we solve a problem for all of these parents. And it's like, I'm getting the complaints. Did you shoot our team last year? No, that wasn't me.
Did you like it? It wasn't me then.
So we're like trying to eliminate like a lot of these issues that the parents are having because we're hearing that it's taking them 4 months to get their pictures. We're hearing that the picture was too dark, or there's so many different issues that we're hearing from these other companies, and it seems like the organizations like can't get out of
their own way.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a contract, or I don't know like what it is that's like keeping them locked in.
It's just easy, man, because they're like, all right, we got pictures, at the beginning of the year. They're like, all right, I don't want to deal with that shit.
Yeah, so maybe it is
who did last year, just call them again.
Yeah, okay. So, but yes, man. I just wanted to say like, no, that means a lot to me.
Okay, here's my point though. Mm-hmm. My 14-year-old wanted a copy of that picture, and he put it on social media. Now, I'm not going there with social media right now, but that is a statement in itself that the kid in the picture, again, he's 14, he's got whatever, TikTok, whatever, right? He wanted that picture, Kevin. Yeah. So he liked that picture enough where he's like, Dad, let me get that. Like, what kid says that? Yeah. And my kid ain't special, but that's my point, is that you got something so special there, man. All right, let me get back to this point. Yeah. So I just want to point out something that's pretty cool. And I don't know if you've ever hung out in this little space I'm going to put you in for a second. The fact that mentor friend of yours, that wasn't like your bestie or something, right? That you called on him and said, hey, I know you're in this space. Can I come talk to you about this over the phone or whatever? The fact that he let you attach yourself to him, even in a shadow perspective, I feel like that was a big moment. Because if you weren't who you were and established yourself as this general good dude that's just trying to do something special for him and his family, that man had a million reasons to say no. Yeah. And none of them would have been rude or nasty, but he didn't. He said, you know what? Why don't you come shadow me on this birthday party, right? Right. I think that was a pretty big moment. I don't know if you ever kind of realized that the stars were aligning.
So I I didn't realize it at the time until I was like a mentor to someone else of like
Paying it forward.
he was creating his competition. Like
Yeah.
he made me, and not like he'll text me now and say I'm as good as him, or well no, he'll really say I'm better than him. He actually was one of the guys that helped me with the Bel Air Terps.
Awesome.
He came out and helped me
What was
shoot
his name?
those. Mike Smith.
Okay.
Mike Smith. Yes. Um, I never feel like I'm better than him, like shooting wise. But no, it was amazing.
Yeah.
That speaks to the person that he is to pay it forward. To allow me to come and just shoot. To assist.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times people don't want to assist because they don't feel like they're necessarily learning what they are going out.
Yeah.
Like they're trying. Like I learned a ton by knowing where the light is supposed to be, knowing where the camera's supposed to be, knowing to be there early because if you get there on time, you're late. Like you, it takes some warming up in like almost every shoot. You have to warm up to the person. You almost have to almost like I don't know. It's been a long time since I like worked the job, but when you get there, you don't just like start working. Like you have to like take at least 5-10 minutes to like lock into your thing. So when I'm showing up to a shoot, you're not just going to all right, get out of the car and start taking great photos. Yeah. So there was a ton that just went into how much I had to learn to get to where I'm at.
And you brought up another point that I haven't even thought about because I was trying to give you some more props about being a good person. And obviously he was a good person, but he literally trained his competition, not like straight up head to head, but yeah, I mean, he was introducing you to the field of which he was currently providing for himself and his family.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people I've got to think, that's the way my brain works, that there's 9 other people that he would have said, nah, man, I'm good. But that you're that 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 1,000,000, where he was like, he thought about it. He's like, I like that guy. Yeah. You know what?
I mean, and we're cool. Like I've known him since
you can be cool, and then you can be training a replacement. It's a different,
right?
Like I'm cool with a lot of people that I won't let come to my work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was like in his bedroom, like we were using the camera. Like he's teaching me how to use it.
Snapping things in that room.
Yeah. Like at his house, like, hey man, this is the only spot we're gonna get some peace and quiet real quick. Like come up here, we'll like shoot different things. So it was just
cool.
Yeah. Like he, I guess there was something that he saw in me, that he wanted to be a part of that journey. But it's definitely it takes a special person to, have the patience because I don't know. I mean, I guess when I'm assisting, of course, he's getting something from it.
Yeah.
And all right, then I start buying similar equipment, and then we can kind of borrow from each other, things like that.
It's a little one-sided, though. Which
but it's still like I'm getting more. I mean,
value.
I built my life off of like I've never taken a course. I've never taken a class.
Oh, that's amazing.
I teach a class at a college now, and I've never taken a class or a course. Like he's why I'm able to do a lot of this stuff. So yeah.
Respect to Mike Smith. That's great. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I want to go back to that moment because I always try to find that place in somebody's journey, I guess is the easiest way to say it, where there was a big moment. I got a couple in my career that I know about that I didn't know at the time, but as you look back and kind of, retrace those steps. So yeah, it's cool. So again, big shout out to Mike. Okay. So this photography, side of your business is obviously a passion, and at its very core, I guess you are an artist.
Yeah.
I don't think that itself is even present in every photography company. And I'm not knocking anybody because I couldn't even tell you another name of a photography company. But I feel that passion, not just because we're talking 5 feet away, but even on that field, when I saw it, and then when we were chatted the first time after that AI event, I could feel that passion coming across. And that itself immediately translates into your work. I mean, duh, you say it out loud. But the crazy part to me is that I don't ever see that in somebody else. I mean, in some of these sporting events, the photographers almost seem like, oh, God, we got to be here.
It's a job.
It's a job. And just the simple thing that I could tell you were really trying to get good pictures. It wasn't this factory of photographs they were knocking out.
Right.
And if I'm going to put $20, $30, $40, $60 into something like that, I want to know I'm going to get something back. And I just think it's different with you guys, man. As a client, I paid for your services and love what I got.
Right.
I would have paid anybody else because I didn't want my kid to not have a photograph.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that we were able to have that moment. So again, anybody listening who is in that space or in the decision making, this is someone you need to have a conversation with, and I can personally vet it won't be the same.
I appreciate that.
Not that I'm this big influencer,
Right.
but somebody's got to hear this message, and I'll be an advocate for you, having personally benefited from it.
Yeah. So I mean, like if you think of like how long it takes you to make what you might have spent on the photos, like all right, say someone spent $60, like if you make $15 an hour, it takes you 4 hours to pay for those
Great
pictures.
point.
Like every person deserves quality. Like I mean, I worked in spots where I felt like I had no impact.
Yeah.
Where I felt like I wasn't making a difference.
I bet
So
you
now
did.
that
You didn't realize it.
I mean, I've worked in warehouses where all I did was I'm saying like I've worked in like spaces where
My bad. That's your point.
Yeah, like I'm working in spaces where I'm like I'm not feeling the difference or the impact that I'm having on the world. Like I'm just grinding pins or I'm just packing a box or whatever. Now that I've put myself in a position to make an impact, actually have a conversation with an 8-year-old, man, you don't look so happy. Let's boost your morale. I mean, earlier this week, I'm shooting with Emerton Basketball Travel.
Cool.
And I'm like,
with the Eagles?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, man, like, what's up? Like, you ready to take your picture? I don't like pictures. All right, why not? You don't want to smile? I don't like smiling in pictures.
Well, you're on social media?
All right, don't smile. Let's take the picture you want to take.
Yeah, get raw.
Yeah, like, I want you to feel exactly how you want to feel in the picture. Like, it's not fair for me to make you stand here. Like, what's the benefit of the kid taking the picture? Like, okay, mom wants it, like, but it's still the kid that has to be a part of it. Like, and then when you get home and you're standing there, you're confident, you're feeling yourself. Like, I want those vibes. Like,
and heaven forbid, Kevin, that kid likes his own photograph. I mean, if that kid loves himself in that hard look, you might have started something in him.
So when I was growing up, I wanted to be Allen Iverson. I wanted to be
AI.
Yeah, like
the original AI, not the new AI. We can claim him in Baltimore.
So, like, if a kid wants to be Jason Tatum, or if a kid wants to be Saquon Barkley, if they want to be Derrick Henry, or like whoever, like, I want them to feel like the person that they admire.
Yeah.
Like, if they look tough, or if they look cool, if they want to wear a visor, if they want to wear like
bandana or whatever,
enjoy the photo, because that's the thing that's gonna like last. It's gonna like carry the memory. Like like there's teams that won the championship. They can always go back to those pictures and be like, man, remember when we stood like this?
Yeah.
And then we won, and then we had a trophy. Like, so there's like so much more that goes into it. Like, there's a psychology thing to like feeling good about,
young people need that, man. Especially in this world. Need anything they can get like that right now.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. So I'm glad we talked about that, and thanks for taking all these compliments on the chin. Good. So that's good. All right, well, let's talk about the studio.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. You want me to jump into it? Or you have...
Okay, so what year did you officially sign the lease at your studio?
So 2023. At the end of 2023. But I would say beginning of November.
Okay. All right, so take me back before you made that decision. And tell me how you went from you and your wife having these ideas, both of you making decisions to provide income from your family, and then where did it come into let's get a space? Because for a small business, that's a very big decision. So look at you smiling at me. So share that with me so the other business owners in this community can also hear that.
All right. So we had this thought that, well, I'll say around like 2021, 2022, I was like getting bored with photography. So
Okay.
I'm like looking for my way out.
That's honest.
Yeah, like I'm just kind of like I'm not really like this. Just isn't me. Like I said, I was like hunting for a look. I wanted my photos to look a certain way.
Yeah,
I got there. Like
okay.
I was paying the bills. I got to the look that I wanted, and it was like, all right, like I've done this. Yeah, I've done this 7-8 years. Like, all right, like what else can we do? And so I really wanted a selfie museum. I wanted something. So think about it like this: when we were 14, 15,
Okay.
what would you do like on a Friday, Saturday night?
14 and 15.
Yeah.
Ask my parents to have a friend over
Okay.
or go outside and play.
Might have some Blockbuster. Might have might
My-
I mean,
That's right. Go to Blockbuster, spend an hour and a half finding one movie.
You know, do you remember we might have had a roller rink, or we might have had
group
movies.
events.
Yeah, we might have had the arcade or something like that. Just because I can remember going to White Marsh Mall, they had the arcade there. Harford Mall used to have an arcade in there.
The skate land down in Perry Hall.
So I'm like, there's nothing for our teenagers to do. Like, what are we gonna? Like, I want to fill this void that we have. So I'm like, all right. So on Fridays and Saturday nights, they can come to the selfie museum, take pictures, go live, social media. Like I wanted to do like, I don't know, 15, 20 different backgrounds, like 8 feet apart from each other. Yeah, like I would have ring lights, different things like that. Like I had it all mapped out. I had the name for it. We made logos and everything. So a friend of mine, he wanted to do a rage room. And so he was going to do Rage Room. I was going to do Selfie Museum. They were going to be like same building, just separated or whatever. And so there was a spot that felt like a great location. So I'm like in Edgewood, but I know like there's Patterson Mill kids and there's C. Milton kids and there's Bel Air kids. Like I wanted to, like I had it like placed perfectly where I can get to it. Everybody like it's like kind of close to 95 and everything. So we're thinking we're moving forward. The contract is bad. Like it just the process of like the paperwork and all that stuff, it didn't seem like they wanted us there.
The contract the landlord was providing.
Yeah. So and it was just kind of like
numbers and terms were not making you comfortable.
I mean, it didn't even what was on the paperwork wasn't even really matching what they were like saying like over the phone. So it was like as we would like look at it, it's like this isn't
what we talked about.
Yeah, and so and really that was my first time like going into like a physical space. So I'm like, man, is this how it is? Like, is this
it's your first experience?
Yeah,
you don't know better.
So I'm like, I'm still trying to take my time, but I'm like excited. And long story short, that fell apart. Now I have that bug of, man, I kind of wanted something. And I never really wanted a studio because all my shooting was done outside. I'm shooting weddings on location. I'm doing the sports photos. Yeah. Even if I did like headshots and stuff, I would either set up a backdrop like in your house. I've had people come to my house and shoot, or I would take the headshots outside. We have a nice green background or the sky or whatever. I'm just so used to making whatever I'm in work. So I never really had this like care to have a studio like that. But then
that's a great point.
People were hearing that I was trying to go into something, and so I was reached out by Dr. Austin Hill. He runs another photography company in our area, and he was like, "Look, we can put together something where we share the space and we can like try to have other photographers. I mean, you never know what kind of problem you're solving for other people when you're solving your own."
Very cool.
He's looking at it from a standpoint of like, man, there are studios in White Marsh, there's studios in the city, but there's nothing in Harford County to where
the space.
Yeah, like people can come in and rent out of there. So I'm like, all right, that sounds like a good idea. So we wanted to go into more of a room of cooperation as opposed to like, I don't know, competition. And so we're like, look, all right, so that's funny. We're having an open house tonight. This won't air, but January 31st and monthly going forward, we're going to be having open houses like at the studio. But we're going to be bringing photographers and videographers and content creators in, and we just wanted to give a space for people to create. Like I said, I wanted to be compensated to be creative, compensated to be myself. There's a ton of other people that want to do the same thing. Yeah. They have a passion for what they do, and there's like nowhere to really put it. Like,
dude, all right, wait a minute, stop for a second. So, I didn't even know what you just said. Okay. This is so awesome that you're saying this. So, the initial idea you said out loud, but the the realization that you are creating a space for other photographers to use because they may not be in their journey to have a full lease,
Yeah.
or they may not have the opportunity for certain types of shoots because they don't have that space.
Right.
That itself, I had no idea that was the initial idea, and that goes on right now, man.
Right.
I thought it was just you and Megan trying to do what you had to do.
No.
I think that's a community service at that point.
Yeah.
Is that a far reach?
No, it's not a far reach at all. I mean, so during the holiday season, I might have had like 6 or 7 like photo shoots, but probably 5 or 6 other photographers came in, had holiday mini sessions, Santa sessions. We ran with like 3 different backdrop setups to where other photographers could use. And so, I mean, it's really for other people to benefit. Like,
because you're giving back to your photography community. I didn't even know that was a part of the deal, man.
Yeah.
Now I'm like all in anyway. I was all in anyway when you walked in here, but
so yeah,
that's
like
so cool.
I've taught a class or 2 out of there, like on people that are like earlier in their journey. But I'm also going into just like the entrepreneurship lane. Like there are people that just don't know what goes into creating your job. Like
a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, and so I don't want it to feel like, oh, you can just sign up and do it. Like it takes some stuff. Like I said, you're gonna learn about yourself. You're gonna learn about people. Like there's so much resilience that you just have to have. Like January was a tough year. I'll just say
you just said January was a tough year. It didn't click. I'm like, oh, that was intentional. You're purposeful in saying it was a year.
Yeah.
Like, and this is the 31st of January, 2025. We're sitting here.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, it's...
Thanks for sharing that, man.
It's been rough. Like, I mean, I'm happy that it feels like we made it. Made it through a tough month. But yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is...
it is tough.
Yeah. But it can be worth it. It can be very well worth it if you see it through. And that's what we're trying to really share with the community. Every time someone comes in there, they are saying, this was right up under my nose. I didn't know it was right here. I didn't think we had something this close, like to grow from, to build, to network, things like that. And so my big thing is like bridging a gap. Like I feel like we may have never crossed paths if I didn't have the space.
Right.
And that's happened for a lot of people, and we've been open about a year.
I got to think that what you just said is a huge driving force behind that too, right? Because I didn't know you prior to that point. We had a lot of intersecting, which we found out, right, with Brad and everything. We have a lot of intersecting parts of our lives that we just hadn't overlapped yet and met each other, but we may not have if you hadn't had that. And how many other times has that happened in the last year? And how many relationships does that offer you? Opportunities, certainly customers, which is great. Got to feed the babies, right? But dude, I'm sitting here blown away knowing that you did that so you could enjoy that space and grow your business, but then also offer that to. That model is kind of gaining traction in America right now. I mean, there's a space on Main Street in Bel Air where it's an office building to which you don't rent out the space long term. You can do it in one day or 1 week or 1 month. It's almost like short-term rentals for people, like Airbnb. It's almost like Airbnb for businesses, where you go in there and reserve that space for 2 days, like a conference room, right? It's the same concept with your studio. And yeah, it's kind of hidden, but it's right in the middle of Bel Air. So tell us where it is.
Okay. So it's 201 Gateway Drive. If you are familiar with Harford Mall or the Bel Air Athletic Club, Copper Mine now, right? We are right in that area. Like we're walking distance from like the mall, the Music Land, all that stuff, right there in Bel Air.
Yeah, right across the Music Land in that little back area. So behind Harford Mall. Yes. Which is so convenient for everything. And you're only 3 or 4 miles away from 95. Right. If someone wants to come down or up. And that space is fantastic. So you have a main shooting lane, a corridor, so to speak, when you walk in. Off the side, you have a little space there. You have a conference room style area in there with the large TV, which is what I went in for the AI workshop. And you do have this podcast area. So Do you want to let people know that that area is available for use on a calendar?
Yeah. So you can rent out the whole studio. So we have like 1,000 square feet, like for the photography space. And then we have a workshop room that you were describing. Then we have a podcast room. So the podcast room has its own rate. The workshop room has its own rate. The photography space has its own rate. So you can do all three at the same time if you just want to make sure your event has no one. Because the ideal goal for us is to be able to run multiple things at the same time.
Yeah.
If you're doing a photography session, we still may have a podcast going.
In
We
that
have
back room.
like the soundproofing and things like that.
Yep.
We've had a couple different instances where other people didn't even know that other things were going on because they're doing their thing out in the photography area and somebody's having their conversation or just sharing their passion and things like that. But yes, it's like we just want to we want to help people with the same issues that we felt like we were having.
And that's not the same with other businesses. And I'm beating a dead horse here, but it's not really dead because I'm featuring you today because there's something special in your business. I'm choosing who I'm going to bring here. This is my home, and I'm choosing. And I wanted you to tell that story because it's just different. And that itself should be marketable for you and your family. Is there a website for the studio yet?
Yeah. So HarfordHavenStudio.com.
Make it easy.
HarfordHavenStudio.com. You can see a gallery of different work that we've done. You can also inquire about workshops. You can ask us about a photography session. So if you have a photographer, they can come in and they can use the lighting. We have triggers for like Canon, Nikon, Sony. We wanted to make it very
For the
convenient.
flash.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like you said, we have the TVs there. We do something that's called tethering. When you shoot, you can actually see the pictures as they're happening. It's not like you have to wait till you get home.
Oh yeah, when I came with Megan, that gentleman showed me right away when her and I were taking that quick shot.
Right.
He said,
Yeah.
"You
So
like this?" I was like, "Oh, it's great."
So we want it to be convenient to where you can make adjustments, whether you need to adjust something with the wardrobe or hair or something like that. So we're like doing different things to just try to speed up the process for people.
Yeah.
Everybody's time is valuable. Everybody's money is valuable. So we're trying to make things run a lot.
You're doing a lot more than trying, man. You're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so a couple of questions I want to ask you before we wrap up, because this is gold and platinum what we're making today right now. Number one, what's a good connection? So what's a good business that you'd like to connect with another business owner where you both may benefit from each other's relationship?
So I actually want to connect with anybody that can teach something.
Okay.
So there may be something that you've learned in your journey of what is that, home mortgage?
Yep.
Every time I run into you, I'm like,
that's so funny.
What does he do again? Like, I want to make sure I know what you do because I've been helping people like with social media and different things because they don't necessarily know how to reach a customer or tell the story of their business. But like, if there's something that you know in your lane or your industry, can you teach somebody that thing? Is it valuable to, I guess, create your competition? It doesn't have to be creating your competition, but you came in for an AI training.
Yep.
Where you guys weren't competing. You were like learning something. So if there's somebody that, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a very general, okay, so like my wife, she does SEO training. Like there's search engine optimization where you're like trying to use chat GPT or something like that to help people find your website or creating your client avatar. Like who are you actually targeting when you are promoting your business? And so we'll do these events where you can learn how to reach your customers faster. So the connections I really want to make are people that want to share something that they know how to do.
Are these experts in their field who now want to teach and give back, or are they just simply somebody who's learned something and they would like to share?
So no, I want somebody that is more of an expert in their field and they are confident in, or if there are people that are just like, man, I want to know how to do this.
Yeah.
We may be able to put together a workshop to where, you come in, spend $50, but it's something that you learn that can make you thousands of dollars.
So I'm gonna hit you with something raw that it's been on the tip of my tongue, and I haven't really thought it through. So I don't have a lot of the secondary or tertiary ideas behind this. But in my business in home lending, sometimes we get in front of a customer where bad decisions have already been made, and it's too late for me to help them get to that homeownership dream in that moment. Not too late in life, but in that moment, things have already gotten too bad, and then I got to put them on a plan, which could be 6, 8, 12 months, 2 years, which is fine. It's okay. But I'd love to get to people before those mistakes are made. So one of the ideas that I'm kind of brewing is a financial literacy. And my initial idea was to teach high school children in their senior year and give them an idea of the other side of the financial world other than balancing a checkbook. It's about credit. When is it a good time to get into that space? What's some good ideas and some bad ideas? And when I got in that space, I realized a lot of the parents aren't teaching their children because they don't know.
I was just about to say that.
So that's kind of where my brain's at. So maybe we can kind of hook up on an idea
perfect.
where we teach our community about this concept. And you do have a space big enough where we could have 15, 20 people in that room.
Right.
And they can walk out with a breadth of knowledge. So yeah, I like that idea.
No, so I mean that's perfect.
Good example.
You because it doesn't even just have to be you. Like you and 3 other people that come from, maybe similar industries or whatever, but that would be great because a lot of us, like, we talk about, like, the parents are teaching it, but the parents haven't learned it. So even if it's a family course, if it's a mother-son course or whatever the case, like, that's a great idea. We've had, I'm so sorry. We had a, like, concealed carry. We had, like, one of those classes where you're learning how to, keep a firearm and things like that. Like, I thought it was kind of cool. We set up a simulator and everything. It looked like Call of Duty. Like, in that workshop room, he had a big screen and
it's a red dot bullet.
Yeah, like cool. So that was cool. We're doing a lot of different, like, workshops to, like, help. Oh, we also had, like, a film study. Like, football team came in, watched,
Shut up.
Yeah.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah, so one of the Bel Air Terps teams, they came in. It was a playoff game, and they put the game on the TV, had the room dark, had a couple snacks just to kind of keep the kids engaged. But, like, even something like that where you just need a room and you need some space for an hour, 2 hours, something like that. Yeah.
So the amount of the members of the community that could benefit from your service is a huge amount of people.
Wide range.
So that's kind of cool. So I think, let me interpret this, and this is your chance to correct me. I don't want to mischaracterize, but if you have an idea where you're going to need to bring in any sort of digital marketing or photography, and you either need a space to do it or someone to help teach you, you're a contact that would benefit that person. Yeah. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
So a lot of times people are going to see the camera in the logo, but it's, like, way more than just photography. Like, it doesn't have to be photography related at all. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm happy if it's not, because I'm going to do the photography talking.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing the videography type stuff. But if there are, like, other industries that you can, I mean, like, we've had like, home buyer seminar. We had, like, I had a chiropractor come in, and he did, like, a generational health symposium where he's talking about healthy habits to pass down to your children, your loved ones, because
you said that my posture went up. I was like, oh.
Yeah, because it makes you, like, tighten up. Like,
okay.
All right. Yeah. So, like, anything that we are, like, learning and someone else can grow from, let's
that's super cool. The next question I usually ask, we kind of double dipped on, and it was, who's your ideal customer? And I think for the studio, if you correct me if I'm wrong, it's anybody that would like to have any sort of space to use and wants to be local and not go somewhere like in the city. And then obviously on the photography side, it's a little easier to have that. But we talked a little bit earlier, some connections that might benefit from on the photography side. Yeah. You talked about a DJ.
Yeah, so you were asking as far as, like, who could I bounce business and stuff off of. And I was saying, like, when I was working in the wedding space, like, there would always be DJs there, but we never quite connected to where, he's passing my info or she's passing my info, like, back and forth, things like that. So that would always be cool to, like, hey, this wedding
network.
Yeah. I would be cool to do something like that, a caterer, a wedding venue, I have done some stuff with Rockville Manor, so that has been cool.
Beautiful area. Yeah.
They're doing some renovations and things like that, so I'm looking forward to getting to shoot there once all that work is done. But yeah, like florists, DJs, like a lot of stuff.
Because in that space, if I know a florist in my network, I'm going to call them for my wedding,
right?
And then I might say, by the way, do you know a good DJ? Do you know a good photographer? Right. Even though I might have been told from somewhere else, it's nice to hear that connection. And man, anybody that knows you personally is going to really vet that out. So there's so much of the community that I hope knows who you guys are and where you guys are.
Yeah.
Okay, we did the business thing. Let's go back to you now. So some people ask about boxers of briefs or soap, bar soap or body soap.
Wash.
Yeah, my question is, I believe everybody, because I'm part nerd, very part nerd. Everybody has a superpower. Now, in the tradition of Marvel Studio movies, not everyone's had their origin story. Not everybody knows what their superpower is, and that's okay too. Do you know your superpower? Has it revealed itself yet in your life? Yeah, that's the look I'm going for.
So I started to believe I'm a translator. A lot of the stuff that I'm dealing in can be a foreign language to a lot of people. So I almost went into this earlier where I was saying like I feel like I'm bridging a gap. I feel like I come from an area of our county where we might not cross paths, like I said. But the connections, whether it be sports, whether it be music, whether it be photography and creativity, like I've been able to be in different spaces that other people may not be fortunate to be in. So I just feel like I'm learning so much stuff, whether it's in the AI space, tech space.
Yeah.
And I am able to deliver it in a way that everybody can get the info. Like I don't feel like I need to stand in front of a crowd with a tie and give a lecture. I want my information to be delivered like conversational.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to see that I'm a regular person that is like loves the sneakers, loves the sports, loves the music. I'm not always going to deliver with proper grammar, but my information is good. And so I feel like I just want to be the person that is going to take information and give it to other people, or the connection for that matter, and give it to people to where it reaches them where they are.
I'm envisioning this like blue ball, like a Street Fighter, like a Hadouken, right? Where you're trying to translating your world and saying, "Hey, here's what you want to hear," because they might not have understood if it came from a YouTube video or from somebody else in the space. That's your superpower.
There's just lectures sometimes that are boring. I mean, there's so many people that I've told about ChatGPT, the different AI apps that I'm using to edit my videos. Yeah. Megan and I want to help later arrive a lot sooner, if that makes sense. Like,
dude, that needs to be on your website.
I tried to tell
you
her.
Joked that told me these one-liners just flow out of you.
But no, I told
you.
We
try to make later come faster.
Yeah.
Dude, you need to market that. Yeah. Trademark, copyright, you cannot have that. That's his. You can't have that.
We definitely want later to arrive a lot sooner. So,
and that kind of encompasses what you guys are doing over there, man.
Yeah. So it's like, man, ChatGPT in different. I always say in different things, but it has mainly been ChatGPT that has gotten us to where we are so much sooner than we would have been, because I mean we are on the paid plan, but it's a $20 assistant.
Yeah, I do it too.
Yeah, it's a $20.
What you get for that is priceless.
Like, there's not really an email or Facebook post or email blast or whatever that I'm doing without consulting.
Run through your filter.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just trying to help people get to their stuff.
So I think that's the one part about, if anybody could not relate to your story, to your business, how incredibly close you are to the hub of Harford County businesses. Every small business needs to know who you are and where you are. But if none of that resonated, the fact that you're doing what you're doing and at the same time not forgetting where you came from, for people that were not as privileged in those areas, and that you're giving anybody, including overprivileged people, a space to be who they are, because they might not have that space. They got the idea and the equipment and the know-how. They don't have the space. And by space, I don't even mean physically. I mean mentally too, because you're going to give them that space. that you and your wife bring that to that, and you give back to the community. That makes you guys different, man. And that's why I think you're a superstar, because so many people can be on this trajectory and learn so much, gain so much, make so much, offer so much. But if you don't turn around and give to the guy who's next in line,
Right.
then what are we here for, man?
Yeah. Thank you.
You know, awesome. I every time I meet with somebody, I'm learning something. But we could do 5 episodes with you, man. So I'm gonna try to get you back on
Yeah,
here. Maybe we'll
definitely.
mess around with that financial literacy idea a little more, on a DL until we get ready to go. But thanks for coming here. I
Yeah.
appreciate you, man. Thank you. You guys are doing great things over there. Harford Haven Studio, Kevin Ewing Photography, Jr. Not the athlete from the 80s and 70s. But awesome guy, awesome family, husband, father, business person. And there is a space behind Harford Mall where virtually any industry that needs a space to work that involves photography, digital space, my guy has it here at the studio. So, World Wide Web of Lending viewers, I appreciate you coming to Connected to the Web. You've officially been connected, Kevin. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's not a big deal yet, but it will be one day.
I
and
wanted
thank you.
I wanted to congratulate you on starting. Like,
Okay.
just taking the first step is major.
All right,
So before
I'll take that.
before we get off here, I did want to say, like, a lot of people think and they mull and they like get ready to get ready to get ready.
Analysis paralysis.
And, yeah. And so even you taking the steps of like getting the equipment, you taking the steps of just starting with your phone and different things like that, like it's going to turn out amazing. Like,
Thanks, man.
so I just think you're so much farther ahead of people that may have it because
Yeah.
you started. So yeah,
Thank
man.
you.
You can't steer a parked car. So
Dude, see, write this stuff down, man.
it's in here.
It better be.
Yeah, and that's in reference to you're not going to be able to make improvements without starting. Like, you're not going to be able to go in the direction you want to go without pulling out of the driveway.
Thank you. I appreciate that grace, man.
Yeah.
I'll take that and enjoy it, man. I like it. It's, again, the idea of this podcast is to create a community of business owners and their families where we know who we are, not just what we're selling, and then we can grow that community and make a space where we can kind of talk to each other, because it's different. You are different if you decide to start a business. God forbid you get successful, you better be even more different, because it adds a whole new problems, right?
Yeah.
If you're making 5 things a month and all of a sudden you got to make 20, you got to be somebody different. Your business has to change, your mentality, the infrastructure. So it takes a certain kind of person. I just want to be around those people. And obviously, what you kind of joked about, my daily, every day I go to work, not on the podcast, to be in the lending community. It's the World Wide Web of Lending. But the idea is that I just want to reach people before they get on that journey. Sometimes they're already up. Sometimes they need help up. And that's what I'm going to do through the community and the networking. So I appreciate you, man.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Connected to the Web. Let's do it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I'll see you in the next episode.